Welcome to the LFW Network. I am here live at FinCon, and I am very honored and privileged to have with me today Tay Kim of financialtortoise.com. Welcome, Tay.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I really am excited for today's conversation because Tay is one of the speakers at the event this year. But not only that, one of the awesome facts that I learned about him is that he also served our country, which is amazing. So he's a veteran, so thank you for your service. And Tay is one of the few people that I want to say I found you. Everyone knows how I feel about my faith, and I was literally praying to be put on the path of people that had already accomplished what I'm seeking to accomplish. And I write you and you write back. So Tay paid off six-figure debt, and many of you who are watching and listening know how I feel about student loan repayment, the burden on borrowers, and it's very difficult to find people like Tay that have actually achieved this incredible, mission of repaying six-figure debt and what that means once you're on the other side. So Tay, welcome to the show.
Thank you
so much for being here.
Yeah, pleasure.
Tell us about you. Where are you from? Who are you? Why the service? Give us a little bit of background on you.
Sure, yeah. So as you mentioned, I have a YouTube channel called Financial Tortoise. So today I'm a full-time creator. I create personal finance content on YouTube.
Right.
But prior to that, I worked in the corporate world. I was a finance director. I did that for about 10 years. And I thought, why not, I was always interested in personal finance. So why not, learn about video, learn about YouTube, and be able to share some of the stuff that I learned, the journey that I had.
Right.
Our journey kind of starts like almost, over 10 years ago, right when my wife and I was getting married. So we both were late 20s, early 30s when we got married. I was graduating business school, and my wife was graduating nursing school. Okay. So we were just both kind of, I've been working for a while, but I was in the military before, so that's all I knew.
Where did you serve, Tay? What branch?
Army. Yeah.
Okay.
So I did ROTC in college, and then I did active duty 6 years.
Right.
And to transition to the civilian world, I went to business school. Yeah, so I went to UCLA. I'm from the West Coast.
Okay.
I went there for business school, and that was a way to just kind of get into the private sector. Like the working. Like coming from the military, I had to kind of unlearn how to call everybody sir, ma'am. Learn people's first names, learn different just industries that are out there, because that's all I knew. The military was all I knew.
Absolutely.
So the business school was great in helping me to transition. I didn't realize how expensive it was, though. So coming from an immigrant family, that was something that wasn't taught in the house. My parents were both blue-collar working parents, and what they told me was essentially, hey, we see people going to college, and once they go to college, they seem to do fine afterwards. So your job is to just study hard, go to college, and do stuff. I'm not sure what, but it's much better than what we're doing right now. So that's all I was told. I didn't learn anything about personal finance, how to manage my money, how to manage my career. All those things I had to kind of learn on my own. So when I went to business school, and they gave me like, hey, this is the education, but at the same time, this is a price tag. And thankfully, like I wasn't. I didn't have to go into like crazy debt like some of my classmates, because I served in the military, so I had a GI Bill that covered a good portion of it.
Right.
But it was still pretty expensive.
Right.
So I took out almost $100,000 in student loans for 2 years. And at the same time, my wife was graduating nursing school, and she had about $15,000 in student loans. So we both, in our wise decision, said, "Hey, we're just getting started in our career. Why don't we get married?" And
she just slipped that in there, didn't she?
Or we both were like, I was like, "Hey, I want to like, let's get married." So we met while we were both in school, and then we're like, what perfect time to get married than right after we graduate school and just about to start our careers.
Right.
And then we were like, hey, the student loan we have, right? Like we're getting these payments. So I think we had a moment where I think when, and both of us were not really good with money up to that point. And like, to give you an example how bad it was, we spent $45,000 on a wedding. because that was kind of the norm that we grew up.
That hits my heart right
Yeah,
there.
and like
But that's
as
expected of you culturally. This is
culturally,
something
yeah,
that even our parents know,
exactly,
this
yeah,
is something we have to do for our children.
exactly,
And they
yeah,
save their whole lives for that.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean? It's a
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and culturally, everybody else was doing it, so we're like, okay,
We
like
got to
I
do
guess
it.
this is what we do. And of course,
Oh,
like
wow.
that pretty much wiped out all of our savings. So I remember like sitting a couple months after we got married, we came back from the honeymoon. That, of course, we also paid out of, spent everything we had. And then we were like adding up all the student loans. We're like, holy crap, like we're just getting started in our career. We have $105,000 of combined student loans. And we both have jobs, great jobs, but we didn't have any investments. We had nothing. So we're like, that was one of the first times I felt like, oh my goodness, like now that I also am married and I have someone else that, that we're taking care of each other, like we're razor thin, just one margin away from catastrophe. Like if one of us lost our jobs and we couldn't make the student loan payment, now we were like, we didn't, the whole reason we worked so hard was we didn't want to be in a tough financial situation when we became adults, because both of us growing up as immigrants, I mean, like scarcity was a norm,
Right.
and that's what we're trying to get away from. But we found ourselves, we're like, holy cow, we're just steps away from that again.
Right.
So thankfully, we learned about Dave Ramsey at the time. So we went to one of his big conferences.
Oh.
And then he was one of the few people that he spoke about money in a very different way, because all the other, there's a lot of, books and podcasts and now like YouTube about money, and a lot of them about like, very like, make money quickly, get rich overnight, like a lot of them were just like, oh, you just gotta, like the whole real estate stuff, like, back in the late 2000s, just like buy with, zero down and you can, become a millionaire in 5 years. Those are kind of stuff that I was hearing. So I was like, is that what I'm supposed to be doing? But I was confused because I was like, they seem very risky, like, and it just didn't feel right. But when I heard Dave Ramsey's, he's like, sell your car, like get out of debt. And I was like, holy cow, you're right. Like I needed more of that.
Right.
So
Very
then-
aggressive, very tactical.
Very tactical and
Yeah.
just straight to the point.
Straight to
Like
the
he just
point.
went straight, like, student loan, like loans are not normal. But I didn't hear a lot of people talking about it. I heard
Right.
that loans were a way to wealth, right? You leverage, right? You're smart, you leverage other people's money, right? But that's how we got into our financial situation. We're like, oh, we're building career capital, so it's okay to borrow. But when you get into that mindset, you're just justifying your bad financial decisions. And that's what we were doing. I was like, I could have borrowed less, but I was like, you know what? I'm getting my MBA. I'll make
It'll
more
pay
money
for
later. It'll
itself.
pay for itself
Yep,
down the
it'll
line.
pay for itself.
And then you think like it's a monopoly money. When I was
Right.
signing the student loans, it's like $80,000. I could pay this off until I had to really start paying off. And then I was like,
Yes.
holy cow, this is real money. This is not monopoly. This is real money. It's like $2,000 coming out of my paycheck every
Yes.
single month. Yeah. So
Yes.
so we were like, we gotta get out of this. Like the number one thing we had to do was like, okay, reframe our mindset. And I think the other thing that I also had to think about was I was living in Orange County, California. I just got my MBA. So from the surface that I saw, people who were successful had all the trinkets and all the signs of success, which was, you have a big corporate job, you have a big corporate title, you have a big house, you have a nice car.
Nice car.
And what Dave Ramsey was saying, go the opposite. Like, hey, I'm supposed to be like, okay, hey, I have this nice job now, but you're telling me like I gotta downgrade my car? You're telling me because I have to get this. But I was like, it's hard to swallow, but I was like, that makes sense. So a lot of things I had to do the first like 3 to 5 years of marriage was like we had to just let go of our ego. We're like, okay, like, we wanted to upgrade from our Civic because now we're adults. We're like, no, like we're gonna drive this down to the ground.
Right.
Like, hey, when we go to work, like everybody wants to go out to the fancy restaurants. I'm like, no, I'm gonna pack my lunch. So those like fundamental stuff and just like letting go of the image of success in order to become really successful.
Right.
So then those were things that we had to develop, and through that we became super aggressive in paying down on our student loans.
Right.
So we were able to pay down our student debt in about 3.5 years, $105,000 in about 3.5 years.
Okay.
So it's like we went just like gung ho
Right.
and just
That's
paid
very
it off.
aggressive. That's
Yeah,
very aggressive.
yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, if you do the numbers, it's like $3,000 a month that we were
Exactly.
contributing every single month to the student loans. But we were just so gung-ho about, Dave Ramsey has this thing about like be gazelle intense.
Yeah, gazelle intensity.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so we were just like, all right, like we gotta get this off our books.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did that require? And you know, I know that this is $3,000 a month. You're hitting all the numbers on the head, because I'm very transparent with my current balance. My current balance is $173,000.
Okay.
It was $228,000
Okay.
before COVID. During COVID, I paid off $38,000.
Awesome.
But
Yeah.
only $10,000 of that went to principal.
Yeah.
The rest
The
went to interest. And everyone was looking at me like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you sending your money to your loan during COVID? You should be investing in the stock market. You should be, and everyone, you know, I don't regret my decision to bring it down, because the thought of $228,000, I literally couldn't sleep at night. It was really messing with my peace. But you know, Dave also changed my life with the Total Money Makeover, and I still listen to him. When I'm getting off track, Dave, get back on track. What does that require of you, or what did that require of you and your wife from a practical perspective? Are you changing apartments? Are you mentioned maybe just keeping your car, making lunch. Were there other things that you saw that we're just gonna have to rice and beans, you know, every day? Were there other things where you felt like your lifestyle was really impacted, but knowing that this is only temporary? Where did you kind of draw your strength from that?
Yeah, I mean, I knew, so when I was talking about the mindset thing, like, you know, when we got married, you know, it's the desire to like upgrade, right? Our lifestyle. We want to, as our income increase, we wanted to enjoy the things in life, right? That's what, you know, we want to hear.
That's why we work so hard.
Yeah, that's why we work so hard. We went to grad school, we study so hard so that we can have those things.
Right.
But we just knew we had to do it in the right order. And then at the time, that was a time of just sacrifice. So yeah, we didn't go on any vacations. We like pretty much cut out eating out, and we actually did the whole envelope system. Dave Ramsey's. We did cash, because we didn't have good money habits.
Right.
We were swiping. We didn't keep track of our expenses. So we're like, and then Dave said, you know, like if you want to really force yourself to not go over the budget, just use cash. So we did that for like a year. Like I remember, like I got an envelope. I would write down like groceries. I would write down. We had to have some discretionary budget for myself and my wife. So we write our name on an envelope and we put like the cash in there. And then literally every month, I mean, and we're not good with cash flow management. So like, we're like, oh, look, there's like, you know, $500 in here. And it's supposed to last us a month. We're like done by the 10th, right? So we're like, why is there only $20 in here? Because we're horrible with cash management. But it forced us. We're like, okay, so what else is in the pantry? Like, we got $20 remaining. What can we make? So we were forced to make those hard decisions, which was great.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't continue, you know. That was, I think, just to build that habit. But those are kind of, you know, weird stuff that like our friends who are still living in Southern California, living the life, driving their Audi, you know, like just doing things. And then they would kind of look at us weird and be like, what are you guys doing? And we're like, we're trying to change our lives, you know? But they didn't understand that. And money is one of those things that we couldn't talk about freely.
Right.
Because everybody felt, you know, it's a taboo topic. We feel very insecure about it. So we just had to kind of quietly like chug along, like looking at, so we did the whole snowball method too. Like I followed his method to the T. I was like, all right, like we're gonna do the envelope method. I'm gonna list out. So on a refrigerator, I had the list of all of our student debt from the smallest to the largest.
Right, and you were crossing it out.
I was crossing it out because I needed to see it. I needed to have validation. So I put the smallest one at the top, which is like $1,000. And then like, even if that was like 2 years ago, I still kept it on there because it gave me a sense of like, all right, cross that out. Okay, next one is like $4,000. All right, I crossed that out. And then I just kept on going. The last one was like $24,000. It was the largest one. I'm like, all right, we can do this, right? And then like at the end, I was just like, it's that motivation, right? Like we're almost there. Let me just dump more into it.
Wow.
So then every salary increase we had, we were just trying to increase
living
how
by
much.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't increase our.
You pretended like you didn't even get a raise.
No,
you were living with that.
Yeah, we were so gazelle intense on like we need to get this debt off our shoulder.
Right.
That I was like every increase we got, like I think we became more frugal as time went. because we were so gazelle intense
Right.
on paying down that student loan. And we look back now and we're like, it was painful, but we're so thankful because that built that frugal muscle and that habit. Because like frugality gets such a like bad rep. People think it's like, oh, you're stingy and all of that. But I was like, really wealthy, smart people,
They're all like that. They're all frugal.
they ask how much it is. Like I thought
Absolutely.
that's what poor people did, because we go to the mall, and then
Right.
when we didn't have money, we all felt insecure. We're like, oh, like I guess rich people look at they don't look at how much it is. They just order whatever, right? You see it in the
They
movies.
don't.
Like you go to the mall and you're like, I want that, right? But I mean, like I realized later on, like no, like truly wealthy, truly wise people ask how much is that, and they go no, or they're like, yes, I see the value in that price, so I'm willing to pay for it. So I
Right.
think it's building just those muscles and being okay, comfortable with talking about money, discussing money, making decisions because I'm not willing to pay because I don't think it's a value. It's valuable to. It's not. The price doesn't equate to its value. So like those kind of things, it took us years to develop.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I love that you use the reference of being a muscle,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of our viewers, and I think even me personally, the frugal button doesn't just turn
No,
on.
no,
The
yeah.
savings button doesn't just turn on.
Yeah.
I've probably been following Dave for about 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And you really do have to put these methods into practice. It's just like working out or running or doing anything else.
Yeah.
The more you do it, the more you acclimate, and
Exactly.
the more your habits
Yeah,
change,
yeah,
because it is a habit.
It's a habit,
Overspending
yeah.
is a habit.
It is.
Spending money without a budget is
Yeah,
a
yeah,
habit.
yeah.
These are your everyday activities
Yeah.
that are now defining your relationship with money.
Exactly.
Tell me about financial tortoise.
Yeah. When you're talking about intensity and urgency, I think that goes very hand in hand with slow and steady, because I think intensity is what's required to be focused, to be slow, to be methodical and steady.
Right.
I think a lot of times impatience is what leads people towards get sidetracked towards, I want to try to find a faster route to get there.
Right.
But then, a lot of things in life, I think when you look at nature, like it's designed in a way, things take time. Really fruitful things take time.
Right.
There's types of plants that grow within a day, but
Right.
they also die off in a day.
Right.
But if you want a tree that lasts for tens of years, it takes 10 years for that tree to grow. So it's just part of nature. It's anything that we want, if we want to develop a healthy marriage or a great career, it takes time, it takes focus, it takes
Right.
intensity. So for me, like, the fable of tortoise and the hare is kind of like, I think it applies in everything. And because my wife and I went through this financial journey, and one of the ways we were able to pay down our student loans was to accept and digest the fact that it's going to be slow. 3.5 years. Some people might say it was fast, but we want it to be off in 3 months, because that's the stuff I was reading, right? It's like, yeah, if you leverage other people's money, you do these crazy things, you can make $1 million and you can be debt free, you can be a billionaire, right?
Right.
So those are the stories that we were hearing, but we had to be like, no, like, I know we do the math and we know this is going to take years, and years takes patience and takes focus. So that's where, like, yeah, I kind of really resonated with the tortoise and the hare, and just kind of came up with the name Financial Tortoise. And then, yeah, like, I think it's that's what I talk about a lot of my YouTube channel is
Yes.
how to build wealth slowly. Like, there is a path for everyone to build wealth, but there is no shortcut. It's going to be slow, it's going to be steady, but if you are following the right path, you will eventually get there.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think this is really important, because if you try to find shortcuts, and I'm guilty of this personally, you will mess up, or you will come off track, and you will lose momentum. And I think that's something that Dave, people talk about the debt avalanche method versus the debt snowball method, but financial freedom, financial obligations, anything financial, at least for me, it is deeply emotional. My student loans, it's not the fact that I owe so much money, and I say the fact, it's the feeling that I get about the fact that I owe so much money. And in order be patient.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
something, one of the reasons I'm so rooted in my faith is because one of those virtues of patience, I've never been a patient person. And later in life, I've discovered you really have to
Yeah.
dig your heels
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
and wait for the right
yeah, yeah,
opportunity.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
if you're impulsive,
Yeah.
you're going to fall on your face.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I've
yeah.
fallen on my face
Yeah,
many
yeah,
times.
yeah.
But now at the point of life where I am, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a breast cancer survivor. I don't know if you knew that. But so time now is this, it's this really
Yeah, yeah.
critical,
Yeah, yeah,
special
yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I have to use it
Yeah,
wisely.
yeah, 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 yeah.
What's the biggest mistake you see people making, and
Yeah.
when they're like, Tay, I need help?
Yeah.
What do you see commonly in your practice?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, and this was a challenge that my wife and I had, was um, the feeling of inadequacy, or they don't feel confident about money.
Right.
So I think this is where a lot of people kind of get pulled into different directions, because there's a lot of noise out there when it comes to money.
Yes.
And it's hard to filter out the good information from stuff that we shouldn't listen to, that is more a marketing sales tactics.
Right.
So, and that was what I had to kind of unfilter and process out of my head. So when I talk to a lot of people, I think, and this is where I think it's fascinating to me with money, is I talk to a lot of very smart individuals that have accomplished a lot in their lives. However, when it comes to money, they feel like, it seems so complex. I don't know if I'm picking the right investment fund. I don't know if I'm doing this right. So they feel there's this deep sense of insecurity that they're like, I can't figure this out. Because I think part of it is also because the financial industry overcomplicates money, because complexity sells. When they make it super complex, they're like, you need us, right?
Yes.
We need to work with us. I can help you.
So
it's very
true.
complex. But then maybe for a billionaire, yes. Yeah, if you need some complex, like offshore accounts, stuff like that.
Right.
For regular people like us, we just need simple tools, simple habits, just fundamentals. And those
Right.
anyone can learn. And I think that's the thing is, people don't feel confident that they can learn money. But it is something that can be learned. I mean, I think the biggest issue is the financial education component, the right kind of financial education. Right. Money is not complex. We make it complex because the financial industry loves to make things complex, and we make things harder than they need to be. So like investing is a great example of that. Like I talk to a lot of people that are super smart, but then they're like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm investing correctly. I'm not sure if and then they always say oh, my financial advisor, or I talked to this guy, and they're like, I should do this, I should do that. And then I try to discuss with them, be like, hey, let's, if you were to just invest in a broad market, low cost index funds, and then you invest as much as possible, that is one of the best path to building wealth.
Right.
But no one is really talking about that, because that doesn't make money for
Right.
the financial industry, right?
Right.
Right. Trading does, activity does.
Right.
Right. Complex mutual funds with super high expense ratios, that's what make money. And that incentivizes salespeople, financial advisors to push those products, right? So I think that's really one of the biggest things I see, when I talk to people. And then when I talk to them, they're like, it doesn't have to be complex. And then it's super simple. And then we would, one of the common things I see with a lot of the people that I talk to and work with are, let's look at the mutual funds that you're invested in. And they were like, oh, I'm invested in these 40 funds. And then we go through them, we're like, okay, how much are you paying to invest in this fund? What is this fund trying to do? And they're like, oh, I don't know. My financial advisor says I need to diversify across multiple sectors and industries and all of that. And I'm like, you can invest in this just simple one fund, and you're getting pretty much all of that, but at rock bottom price. But you probably never heard of it because it doesn't make commission for the person selling it. Right? So then for them, it's like a light bulb moment. And a very intelligent person, they just needed that explanation. They just needed to learn about it.
Right.
And then once they get it, they're like, I could totally do this. Why was I paying someone arm and a leg to do this? So I think that's one of the biggest issues I have is just the overcomplication of money in the financial industry. And then I think the need for just stronger financial education, because that is really your greatest weapon.
Right.
The reason I got into student loans and just willingly sign my name away was because I wasn't financially educated.
Right.
My financial literacy was super low. I
Right.
thought rich people, this is what they did, but in actuality, rich people did the opposite. But I didn't hear that.
Right.
Those books were in the back of the bookshelf. They weren't the sexy ones. The sexy ones are
Right.
the ones that sell in the front, say become a millionaire overnight.
Absolutely.
The ones that talk about the slow, steady fundamentals.
Those are the boring ones.
Those are the boring ones at the bottom of the bookshelf. I should have been reading those, right? Yeah.
So, Tay, now you're on the other side. This is what I love about this channel. This is what I love to be able to do, because it really gives me a lot of inspiration and motivation to just stay on my journey.
Yeah.
Now you're on the other side. You were kind enough to share with me that you're traveling. You're
Yes.
you're living out some life dreams now,
Yes,
that you
yeah.
have paid off your debt, that you
Yeah.
have figured out how to,
Yeah.
stay free of debt
Yeah.
and ongoing, and make it like a practical aspect of your life. What is one key takeaway or something you'd like to share with our viewers and our listeners? And again, this is deeply emotional. It is for me, and I know it is for a lot of the people watching, but one thing you'd want them to kind of just take away from, and what does the grass look like on the other side, now that you're debt free? What would you impart to them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the journey is worth it. It does require investment, pain, because it is painful to be, I think, when we were in the thick of paying our student loans and we saw that $3,000, $4,000 every month that could be going towards somewhere else, and the interest is a killer, right?
A killer.
And I would watch like the interest rates be like, holy cow, like, I send in $4,000 and only like half of it is going towards the principal, other half is just interest,
Yes.
And you can get into this whole like, why did I do that? And I'll never pay this off. This is like, it's just so far away. Like, but if you can commit to knowing that this is a long journey, I think the biggest surprise or the thing I felt was just that emotional peace that comes after being unburdened. Because it felt like when we had the student loans, we had this like heavy weight always over us, kind of dark cloud looming. It'd be like, we didn't feel free. Yeah. So then I think that was one of the biggest things that we've been able to really enjoy, was just freedom. And I remember Dave Ramsey used to talk about like, saying like nothing feels better than like, not knowing anyone anything, right? And then we're like, I wonder what that feels like.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, it is, I think, freedom, choice, those are one of the things that I think is one of the things that we easily take for granted. And I mean, there's no feeling to describe, just like being able to be like, I don't owe anybody anything. This is like the most amazing feeling. Like my paycheck, what I get is what I get to keep with me. Yeah. So I would say for the audience who are in this journey of paying down debt and feel like there is no end in sight, there is end in sight.
Right.
It's gonna take a while. It's gonna be painful, but then the emotional freedom and the liberation you're gonna feel at the end is so worth it.
Yeah. And I have a little bonus question for you. I don't know if I sent these questions to Tay in advance, but I'm gonna ask them a little bonus question. What would you say to the folks, because there are many out there, I know some personally, that have chosen to just pretend the loan doesn't exist?
I mean, if there's a pathway towards actually a real pathway, not like hopeful, like I kind of wish, someone's gonna do it.
Right.
But if like I know of physicians who've actually taken advantage of the loan forgiveness program, but they were like well into it. They actually had a strategy, like they actually had a path.
Right.
They're not like hoping the politician would change things.
Right.
But if there is not, I mean, again, it's painful, like paying, but I think that is where we have to come face to face with, we can call it a mistake, a life decision that we made. And I think it's painful, but we have to come to terms with it. And like you can never truly find peace when you have like this burden hanging over you.
Right.
And I think we would have been, for my wife and I, we knew we were lying to ourselves. that we were saying, oh, we're great, we have peace. And then we're like, you know what, we're gonna live like life today. Life is too short, right? But thing is, deep inside, I knew there was this anxiety because I felt it, right? This like I was living in a way, I was living a lie, right? Like like if I was to act like nothing was wrong,
Right.
So I think there is a need to face our decisions, take responsibility for
Right.
it.
Take accountability.
Take
and actually
accountability,
confront.
exactly.
Yes.
And then there's so much power in facing our fears, taking accountability, and then the most powerful thing is really us after we face it, taking the action, and it develops so much, I think, just self-esteem and courage within you because I faced it and I did it, and like I can do it. I can do other things.
And I think just staying the course.
Yeah.
We say that a lot. There's too much noise online, and I love that you touched on that. And then just finding the people in the community that are going to support you. And again, I think from a cultural perspective, I think my mom didn't really understand what it meant to take out loans to go to school, but they were also anti-debt. My mom never had debt. She couldn't live with debt. Our parents were just like, we don't know. It was a pride thing for them. For us, it was, we came to this country to give you everything. And you're going to take advantage of everything, and we'll figure it out later. But you're a lawyer, so we already, that's what we came here for.
Right. You're good, right?
You're good. Tay, thank you so much.
Yeah,
this
thanks for
was
having me.
incredible. Where can our viewers and our followers find you? Where should they contact you for anyone that needs help? Also, military members, I just feel like you have a really good understanding because you served. And again, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Where can our viewers find you and get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel called Financial Tortoise. So I post videos at least once a week. So you can find me, my content there.
Awesome.
And then if you want to reach out, my email address is on there. Just hey@financialtortoise.com. But yeah, my YouTube is my main platform that I'm at.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
I hope
having
we
me.
can do a follow-up episode when I'm like,
Yeah.
I may need your help to keep me back. Keep me
Halfway
back.
there, You just gotta keep on going. The finish line is right there.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
To all of you watching us today, thank you so much for joining. This is the LFW Network. Stay the course. God bless. See you soon.